Dating and relationships are a skill, and most people don't think about it that way, and that's why they have such a hard time improving. So when you think about the process of dating and relationships, what happens is that you have someone who's a complete stranger, right? I mean, you are complete strangers to each other. And you start from not knowing the person at all to having a long-term, intimate and physical relationship that lasts for 50 years or maybe more. So when you think about that, there's a starting point and there are many, many stages that go from there until the point where you have this relationship. Right? So you have that first time you meet them and that first impression you make. You have that first interaction with them where they become interested enough in you that they want to see you again. You have that first date where once again, they have to want to be able to see you again and they have to want to see you in a romantic way. You have the next meet and then maybe you have sex and you have a ongoing relationship. And you have to plan many activities together because you spend more and more time together. And those activities have to be enjoyable for the both of you. And on and on. So you see there are many, many stages that you go through, and each of those stages has its own unique set of skills. Now, of course, some of the skills, they cross over, but it's very different being on a first date than it is being on a 100th date with someone. And when you're in a relationship with someone, there are a lot of conversations that you have to have with them about daily life activities that are not particularly fun or enjoyable, but they have to happen and they have to be as smooth as possible because those devolving into very contentious conversations damages the relationship. So you have to develop very good negotiating skills where you can put across your points of view, you can let the other person put across their point of view in a way that doesn't generate conflict and that you can find compromise. And that's a very important skill. You have to coordinate your priorities with that person. You have to get to know their values so that when you are negotiating these things in a long-term relationship, you can make sure that what's most important to them is respected and that they make sure that what's most important to you is also respected as you reach those compromises. You have to be able to dress well because if you don't dress well, then you're not going to attract the type of women that you're interested in. You have to be able to continue to take good care of yourself physically if you want to continue to have a physically intimate relationship into your later years as that relationship progresses. You want to be able to stay attractive to your partner. When you don't know your partner, it's very easy to be attractive to them, relatively easy to be attracted to them. But when you've been with them for 10 years, it becomes more challenging. And so learning that and how to maintain that dynamic between the two of you is also a very important skill. And the absence of any one of these skills is one of the things that makes life very challenging in relationships and in long-term relationships. And it's one of the reasons why, for some guys, they're very good at dating. And there are other guys that are very good at relationships. And there's not as many people that are as good at all of those things. And so if you are very good at those things, then you can have a really enjoyable dating life. And then when you find that woman that you are really into, then you can have a really enjoyable relationship too. Even if, for whatever reason, that is not a relationship that goes on for 50 years, maybe it only lasts a few years, and then circumstances make it so that, you realize that she is not your ideal partner, or she realizes that you're not her ideal partner, or it's a mutual, right? Because, that's happened to me plenty of times where, I've dated women, there's nothing really wrong with them, but they're just not what I want, and vice versa, where maybe I'm not offering to them what they want. And it's not that, we can't be friends and into the future, or maybe more than friends into the future, but we just can't have sort of that ideal relationship together. And so developing those skills is really valuable so that you can have really great relationships, really great memories, and a really great and enjoyable dating life to look back on even when you're no longer dating. And if you do find yourself in the future where you do end up divorced or something like that, and you need to get out and date again, then you already have that underlying fundamental understanding of those skills that are just a little rusty and that you can rebuild when you get back into the dating world. And so when you're starting out, of course, because there are so many skills to learn, you can't learn all of them at once. So it's important to break them down into their various elements and start learning with the very beginning, which is making a good first impression, having that first interaction be interesting enough that she wants to see you again. And so that's where you got to start. And then once you develop that, then you can work on how to plan a really great first date that's enjoyable for you, that fits your budget, that the type of women you're into are going to enjoy. And then there's many skills involved in that first date. You know, how to make things sexual in a fun way that she can enjoy and isn't a turnoff. How to have an interesting conversation. How to progress that emotional intimacy so that both of you develop that feeling of becoming closer and closer and being on the journey for a deeper relationship. So, you know, as some examples of the early skills. So it's really important to focus on the skill acquisition, because when you have the skills, they're always going to be useful, even outside of dating, because a lot of these skills are just about how to run a really great interaction with people and how to develop relationships with people, whether those relationships become romantic or not. Many of the skills are exactly the same. I mean, pretty much they're exactly the same except for the sexualizing and the physical intimacy part. The other aspects of getting to know someone and developing a close relationship are totally the same. And usually we just let those things happen accidentally as we grow up. But if you know how it works, because as we get older, it does become harder to meet new people and make new friends. But if you know how to do these things, then you can take those skills and you can use them when you want to develop a relationship with a coworker or someone who you share a hobby with, or any other type of situation where you have the opportunity to meet a new person who you think is interesting, even if you're not interested in them as a romantic dating partner. Now, I have a video where I talk about some things that you can do to acquire some of the skills and to start on that journey of acquiring skills, especially towards being a really good conversationalist and making a great first impression.